Something like that. Yeah, that worked. Fat cat, how you doing, buddy? How you doing? How's that foot of yours? Feeling better? Yeah? Oh, you little turd. You little turd. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Monday. A little wild weekend wicked wackiness going on. And let's see here. BobbyCat42 just randomly searching the IRS website found what looks to be a request from DK Butterfly, BBBYQ, to analyze the tax implications of a butterfly merger that they would do with their 38 subsidiaries. Now, granted, the document does not mention Bed Bath & Beyond or any possible merger candidates. Doesn't mention anything by name. It just so happens to be filed, or the reply being the same day that DK Butterfly decided to pull the BBBY shares from the market. And it has exactly 38 subsidiaries, which is what DK Butterfly has. So, very interesting. Where A merges into B and DD and A and 1 and 2 and 8 and 5 and just everyone gets everything for tax-free, basically is what they're saying. In that document, the requirements are bondholders be made whole. So it's $1.5 billion in debt to bondholders. Well, make them whole. And then existing shareholders get equity in the new company. Didn't say anything. I don't think, if I read through, I don't think it say anything about cash payouts. But if there's a waterfall to shareholders we get anyway. So that's exciting. What else, Monkey? We have China has basically said, screw you, America. This is a trade war. No takesy backsies. And are essentially annihilating the IP of companies that do business there. They're like, you know what? We make all the stuff. You can just buy it straight from us and not have to go through Hermes or Coach or, Louis Vuitton or whoever. You can just get it from us, and we'll show you how we make it and what ingredients we use to make it. And Trump over the weekend said, "Hey, we're gonna halt tariffs on electronics and computers and microchips." And then last night he's like, "Nah." So just nothing makes sense, man. It's just yo-yoing. Everyone's getting yo-yoed around. Also, Bukele, President Bukele of El Salvador, had a meeting at the White House today, where basically he said, like, I can't give your guy back to you. Talking about Kamal Brigo Garcia, who was taken by accident, removed from his family, and sent to the prison Sicotte, what do we call it, in El Salvador. Evidence is coming out that Sicotte is a death camp. Satellite images show bodies and blood puddles on the grounds of the camp or the prison. It is a magic place where prisoners go in. No one ever comes out, and yet there's always room for more prisoners. So that's a death camp. That is, my guess is they're not going to give Garcia back because he's dead. He's gone. He's not coming back. So the senator from Maryland is going down to El Salvador this week to go demand to see him and see if he's all right. My guess is they're gonna be like, no, you can't see him. He's busy. You can't see him. And then during that meeting, Trump also told Bukele that he needs to build 5 more prisons just like it so he can send Americans there. American citizens, homegrown criminals. So you can send them there to be disappeared. This is exactly what I was talking about when I was pointing out that this entire deportation plan is a scheme to murder people. That's all it's been the entire time. Stephen Miller is behind the entire thing. Stephen Miller is gung-ho about denaturalizing American citizens. They took away a young man, a Columbia student today, who was at his meeting for his citizenship, become a U.S. citizen, and they arrested him and hauled his ass off today. These are the baby steps towards taking you and me and other American citizens and disappearing them forever. This is the type of shit that authoritarian regimes do, and we need to be taking this stuff seriously. The courts have ordered that the Abrego Garcia be brought back 5 p.m. today. He needs to be on his way. And we are now several hours past that deadline. So are the courts going to nut up and actually do something about this and hold someone like Miller or Bondi in contempt? Haul their asses and hold them in jail until this gets sorted out? They should. They definitely should. Those folks should lose their freedom right now for kidnapping and absconding with folks and disappearing them. The argument that the federal lawyers are making is that anyone who's removed from U.S. soil and put on foreign soil no longer in jurisdiction of the United States, so the court orders don't really matter and they can't really do anything about it. Interesting argument, because that also means that we can't negotiate for hostages anymore because we have no jurisdiction, right? You believe that? The most powerful country in the world has no jurisdiction to do anything to protect people or get people back. Seems like a bullshit argument, an argument of convenience that got shot down 9-0 by the Supreme Court, which is very rare to have those ultra-conservative justices and left justices meet and go, yeah, this is fucking wrong. But yes, this is the slippery slope into authoritarianism, and I'm sure there'll be some comments later like, oh, you always talk politics on here, meh, 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 meh. Dude, getting a MOAS doesn't matter if they can abscond with you any point, any day, anytime, anywhere, right? That's just the way freedom works. So, yeah, this isn't the America we know. This is definitely a different America that is upon us right now. So, other news, Monkey, GME did all right today. We had a little climb. It touched 27.18 pre-market, 27.08 during the day. Settled out at like 27.80, somewhere around there. It's a good day. Good day. So it's all right. We do fine. Yeah, probably should have, when it hit 27 whatever, probably should have sold my calls, bought some puts. It would double my money, and then got back in with calls again. But I didn't pull the trigger because that's how it goes. You always wait too late, and such is such. Anything else I need to add in there, Monkey? I don't know. I can't remember everything I put in the ye old description. But anyway, JD Vance also broke the college championship trophy, and Jeff Bezos face planted right next to my buddy Sarah. So the Jeff Bezos' wife and Katy Perry and some other ladies, Gayle King, went up into space briefly, landed back down in the Texas desert. Jeff Bezos like, oh boy, went to go greet them and went to go open the door, and he just tripped and face planted there. It was kind of hilarious. So yeah, they might be billionaires, they could still be klutzes. Okay, let's blow up the world. Boom. Right, Monkey? Little blower-uppers. Ooh. Off. There we go. Ferris F, first, second, and third. Murph Durf, 69th. Nice. Ferris F, I declare victory, and you win. Murph Durf, beautiful in Pacific Northwest today. Hope you and Monkey were able to go a nice walk. We didn't walk. We mowed the lawn. So we did that. N9, thoughts on RC's weird twat today. Let's bring it up. I don't think it's so weird. I think it kind of makes more sense to me than one may immediately. Rion Q-hon. Schwink. Bling. And bloop. Blah. Bam. Where are you? There we are. Okay. All right. So, Ryan Cohen. We got, where'd it go? It's gone now. Never mind. Someone sent it to me earlier. Who sent it to me? Who sent to me? At least a screenshot of it, right? It's in there somewhere. Was it Signal? No. Maybe it was Twitter messages. Boom. Bam. Not that one. Maybe this one. Someone sent it to me. I saw it. I swear I saw it. It was this one here. Here we go. All right. You guys take screenshots of them. Trump versus Xi Tariff Battle Royale live in the UFC Octagon. $69 per ticket. $420 with tariffs. I think Ryan is having a little bit of buyer's remorse. I think this is what this is about. He likes 69, 420 jokes. You know, people always be like, "Oh, 420, something's gonna happen on 420." 420 is a Sunday, so nothing's gonna happen on 420. But Ryan, I think, is really upset with Trump's tariffs because it's going to greatly affect him being able to get physical media, game systems, controllers, etc. from China, because that's where that stuff is made. If you have digital download games, you don't have to worry about tariffs. They're not tariffing anything digital. But if you get CD-ROMs, DVDs, game cartridges, etc., that stuff is physically made, and that stuff is physically made in China and then shipped out here. So I think this is Ryan having a little bit of buyer's remorse and being upset with the fact that the guy who he blew up his own marriage to support is blowing up his business at the same time. So that's to me that's kind of what this is saying. Some people may find some other meanings in there, but to me this is him being pissed. Like, you did this to yourself, buddy. So pull that trigger and get us our money before it's all ruined. Yeah, I don't think there's anything too deep to that one. But, 69, 420. Danny Motes, hey Houston, what do you see happening with Beyond stock? Seems very low right now. In first week of May, Beyond issues the baby shares on T0 to everyone who has Beyond stock. And then my guess is that we wait. You got to wait for that T plus 90 for them to fail, the shorts to fail in their delivery of Beyond baby shares to all the shareholders they shorted to. And when that happens, you're going to start to see the price go up, just like you did when Overstock initially offered the T0 token. That T0 token took 90 days, and then it squoze, and there you go. So I would look at August before Beyond stock starts to go nuts, somewhere around there. Marcelo Giordano, Houston, happy birthday. I read about the 2024 bonds being switched for 2027 bonds. Know if there's any truth to this. I have not seen anything about that. So if you see it, send it to me. I will give it a read. MS solid fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. I think you're fifth. My friend. And Marcelo, also, did you hear Trump's off-the-cuff remarks about homegrowns being next in the El Salvador is going to need more prisons? Yeah. Yeah. If you are a dissident, if you are the wrong skin color, those are the folks that are going to go first. So, yeah, they're. It doesn't matter if you're a criminal, really, because the Trump administration and all the people in ICE and the DHS are like, oh, we're going to go for the hardened criminals first. And 75% of the folks that were disappeared in the El Salvadorian prison had no criminal record whatsoever, either in our country or in the country they came from. So, like, it won't matter. If they don't like your vibe, you're going to be disappeared into a van, and you're never going to see your family again, or your friends, or daylight. You're done. You're gone, and that's what they're going to do, and that's our future. That's the future that MAGA voted for. And, the MAGA folks don't realize that they can be disappeared like this, and they will be disappeared like this. These authoritarian regimes do not reward loyalty. They don't. Trump sees you drive a Ford Escort and live in a double wide. You're not a human being. You're trash that needs to be cleaned off the side of the road. He'll use you until he doesn't need you anymore, and now he doesn't need you anymore. So you're done. You're out of here. You are trash waiting to be picked up on the side of the road. And he'd rather have the clean streets without the rednecks in it than anything else. and then then they take your land and they turn it into resorts and whatever else they're gonna do, and that's how authoritarian regimes work. So welcome to what you voted for. NS. Hi H. When markets bounce, I mean, what good is dump without pump? Oh, there'll be pumps in there, but there's gonna be more dumps because we need China more than China needs us. I saw a video earlier. A guy showed excellent math. We might as well calculate it up here. Where's my calculator? There you are. So we represent 12.8% of Chinese exports. 12.8%. So they export 3 trillion a year. 12% of that is to the United States of America. And that number has been getting lower and lower. We were above 20% at one point, and the past couple of years we're down to 12.8%. So China, we make up the seventh of Chinese exports, 1/7. Okay, that's, you'd hate to lose that, but whatever. Exports, though, only consist of about 18% of the entire Chinese economy. So 18% times 0.128, we are 2.3% of China's GDP. China's GDP grows by 5 to 10% a year. So we are a blip. We're like 3 or 4 months of the Chinese economy is the United States of America. They're fine without us. We don't get stuff without them. We don't have the textile plants. We don't have the manufacturing plants. We don't have that stuff. So if the rest of the world isn't telling China to go fuck themselves, then China's just going to sell the rest of the world. And that'll be that. And they'll be fine without the United States being a part of it. If the rest of the world, if China does something like invade Taiwan, the rest of the world goes, nope, we're done with China. Then China will have a problem because I've no one to export to, and their economy really will just evaporate. Folks talk about how China owns $1 trillion of our debt, but we own more than $1 trillion of China's debt. So there is some play there, but the Chinese just won't pay us, and they'll be like, what are you gonna do about it? And the banks and stuff who own that debt are gonna be like, nothing, which is already what's happening. I mean, look at Country Garden, Evergrande. These giant mega real estate corporations aren't paying back a dime to their bondholders. We've got something like between $8 and $14 trillion in municipal debt. And municipal debt is illegal in China. Municipalities do not have the right to float bonds to pay for projects, but they did so anyway, and they're not paying those back. So a lot of the high-speed rail systems, train system, roads, sewers, subways, etc., were built using bonds that these municipalities floated. Banks in America, Canada, Great Britain, Germany, etc., bought those bonds to fund those projects, and now the municipalities are just going, oh, we're not going to pay you because these bonds are against the law. Oh, well, what are you going to do about it? And the banks are like, nothing. And that's kind of the reality of it. So, there's a little tit for tat that can be in there, but in the end, we don't represent enough of the Chinese GDP to really make a dent. So, tough titties. China's going to win this one. Way to go, Trump. So yeah, prices are going to go up, stocks are going to go down, the dollar's going to become worthless, and our bonds are going to, interest rates are going to skyrocket while the prices on those collapse. And that's going to bring down a whole bunch of hedge funds in the end. But there'll be blips. There'll be blips where like, oh, it went up like 1,000 points today, woo! And then it went down 2,000 points the next day. And it's just going to keep doing that, especially as these companies start reporting. I mean, Tesla, I think, is supposed to report around the 22nd. Let's see here. TSLA for Q1 earnings. Tesla Q1. I'll just text it for a second. April 22nd. So that's next Tuesday. And I wonder how they're going to jerry-rig those numbers. because they're on this. They're already fronting how many deliveries they had, right? So they're showing like, oh, we produced this many cars, we had this many deliveries, other models got delivered. So we have this many cars we produced, this many deliveries. So they're showing that they have 30,000 more cars than what they delivered. Comparable numbers, it's going to be way down. They're losing shares across the board. They're no longer taking trade-ins on their own Cybertrucks because they can't get rid of them. They got, I guess, apparently a couple 100,000 Cybertrucks that can't get sold, and they planned to they had over 1 million pre-orders. They had about 40,000 deliveries, and then everything else just sitting there. And the Cybertruck, this is a truck that this time last year they were selling for $200,000, and now people are getting trade-in values for about $50,000 on them. So the brand is dead. So I'm very curious to see what their April earnings are like. I'm really curious to see what their July earnings are like. That's going to be real bad, right, Monkey? Oh, man. Delicious. So, the question is GameStop going to go nuts on Monday? And if so, will it keep going nuts? And will I be able to take some of that money and put it into Tesla puts? Or will I be too scared to get out of the GameStop because it's going to be going knucking futs? So I'll just stick with that. Diversification, Monkey. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Ford's ZZ9. Houston, happy birthday. I really hope we are close. Everything seems to be dropping now. What's your take on everything and your options playing? My options are up. I probably should have sold, bought puts, and reset today. I would have had 3 or 4 times as many options as I do right now. But yeah, it does feel like there's like the water's being chummed a bit, right? Like, the shark's out there. It's ready to go. Om nom nom nom. And the music is doing the dudunt, dudunt, dun 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 dun, and we're just waiting for it to happen. I really want it to happen sooner than later. I mean, Trump and Bukele's conversation today makes it readily apparent that it's going to get so ugly here that I think those who leave will be spared, and those who don't will suffer. That's what the crystal ball is telling me, and I'd rather go live a good life somewhere than suffer here. And some people are like, "Hey man, I'll stay and fight and blah blah blah." I don't think there's enough Americans who will fight. I don't think there's enough of us, personally. I think we're apathetic. We're lazy. We don't care enough. When bad things happen, we go, oh, and we watch Hulu. And I honestly don't think there's enough of us to give a shit about what happens. People will wrap themselves in the flag all day long, like America, but when actually it comes to defending the rights and ideals and everything that America has stood for hundreds of years, they'll look the other way. They can't be bothered. There's another episode of The Bachelor on, man. I'm gonna watch that, and then maybe close the curtains when their neighbors get dragged away. And I think that's where a majority of Americans are, sort of ethically. Too many of us suck. That's what it comes down to. And not enough of us read, not enough of us learn, not enough of us care. And, it's going to get ugly. But I think half of the ugliness is going to be the apathy of the American citizens. And I know it sounds really depressing, but have you met Americans? I mean, half of us do really suck. And suck bad. We even see people that in the past have stood up for the right thing, caving right now. Bill Maher, who champions himself, was like, oh, blah, blah, honesty, whatever, went and Trump just gave him a blowjob. And he's like, Trump's not that bad. Fuck you, Bill. You were paid a big old check from Warner Brothers to go make good with Trump because Warner Brothers wants their merger to get approved, and you did it. You won't see John Oliver, who gets just as big a check from Warner Brothers, as doing that. He's not going to do that. He has some scruples, some integrity farms. So yeah, it's. I think the best bet for folks is sort of the West Coast and the Northeast somewhat becoming autonomous, like self-governing autonomous regions inside the United States. That's probably the best bet for a large portion of the population. And it will give sort of a window or ability for folks to flee other parts of the country that need to. I really do think that the Western state governors, West Coast governors, need to get together and discuss how they're going to approach this. Like, if the United States goes for Greenland, invite Denmark to take the West Coast. Be like, hey, Denmark, all yours. Like, that's basically what it should come down to. And make a little trade that way. Get ourselves some 5-week paid vacations, year-long maternity, $23 minimum wage, free healthcare, free buses. Like, I'll take it. I'll take that trade. You can have Greenland, Denmark can have us. That works for me. President Productions, have you seen the 370 Malaysian flight video that the plane disappeared? I'm in Vegas and saw a similar video recorded on an iPhone and had small circling orbs and sky opening. No. I have not seen that video. I don't know if I'd trust it if I did see it. First impressions. Ashton Forbes has done a bunch of videos involving the disappearance of the Malaysian flight. The person who showed me the video was contacted via email and recommended to not share the video. Also, here in Vegas, I've seen a dozen Tesla trucks, no swastikas though. There's only 3 that I know of on the island, and there's never a passenger in it. It's always some Gen X dude who's alone, and they eat alone, and they shop alone, and everything they do is alone. Yeah, that's it. And then when everyone passes by it, that's the face they make as they walk by. So, yeah. Brandon Wells, sub BBBY No Labs. Nothing about No Labs, BBBY, talked about earlier. Houston, Ray Dalio is worried economic repeat. Yeah. I mean, Citadel has $955 billion in derivatives liabilities tied up in Japanese carry trades. Japanese carry trades are anywhere from $7 trillion to $20 trillion, meaning I guess the one thing that's kind of saving us right now is that bond yields are still crazy high. They keep going up. But if for some reason bond yields drop like Trump wants, and the Japanese yen still gets stronger against the US dollar, then $20 trillion is being drained out of the bond and equities market and securities market and sent back to Japan to pay off those loans. And that will just cause drops that will trigger circuit breakers and probably end trading for a day, at least, if not more, until all that gets sorted out. Because the bond market is vaporizing a bunch of hedge funds right now, the Federal Reserve is putting forward the possibility of a $3 to $4 trillion bailout package, essentially to shore up bonds. It's a bigger bailout package than what the banks received in 2008, and it's for the hedge funds and not for the banks, which is messed up. Like, let the hedge funds die. Survival of the fittest, man. You can hedge your bets. Oh well. You can't make the Federal Reserve be your hedge. That's cheating. But I guess that's what they're going to do. So, Walter Estrada's 420th. Houston. Oh, yeah, I did that one. MS of 1930s. So like the rest of Hitler? Yeah. President Production, GME gonna run this week. Sold 1 call before the dip today and bought more IEP calls and NWBO shares. Yeah, I think it did a little bit of running. I think we saw a pinch of gamma today. I honestly kind of wish I had sold and reset, because I don't know if there's going to be as much of a drive tomorrow, although apparently there are swaps that are coming due this week. So maybe we get a little zoom, right, fat boy? Maybe we get a little zoom? Huh? What do you think? What do you think, man? What do you think, Jiggle Monster? What do you think? Fat Cat sprained his foot the other day. I was like, oh, man. Let's just hope that it's okay. He's feeling better. So it was a limpy weekend for him, but now he's feeling fine. Kelly Reed, happy birthday, Yusuf. China halts rare earth minerals. Isn't this the plot to Black Ops 2? Yeah. Fed bails out Trump. International confidence and trust continues to fall. Stocks continue to bleed. Fed prints more money. Inflation skyrockets. Crash further. Yes, we'll be entering a stagflation land. Here's one of the problems with the United States of America, is that we have as much or more resources, whether it's energy resources or mineral resources, as any nation on earth. What we don't believe in as a society is the federal government having anything to do with helping to exploit those resources. The private industry has to do it all. So we have as much rare earth deposits. We have huge ones in California, huge ones in Wyoming that are proven deposits. The one in California has got sort of a mineral operation going on. They supply about 12% of the rare earths on Earth. But we could ramp that up a lot more and actually compete with China on this front. The problem is that to expand those operations, you need huge milling facilities to basically mill the ore, concentrate it into the various different rare earths that there are, and which is a big process. You need all sorts of different gases and chemicals and things to pull stuff out and move down the line to the next one. And the investment for that just isn't there. Like we need the purchasing power of the American citizenry, our tax dollars, to go, hey, we're going to pump $10 billion into a mineralogical facility, and to exploit these minerals, and then we can compete with China. We won't do that though. Instead, everyone's like, can you please lend us some money to build a facility? And like, oh, how many years will it take you to build a facility? Blah, blah, blah. Look at the returns. And they just can't get the money to do it. Whereas other nations that have like large mineral deposits, the governments come in and they help ensure that those deposits get exploited. They do that in Canada. They do that in China. They do that in Russia. They do that in Brazil. We don't do that here though. And so a lot of our resources go untapped. And then if we do have a private company that comes along and says, hey, we're going to figure out how to do this, China just undersells them, drops the prices, and all their funding disappears because their funding was based upon like a higher price. So maybe if China cuts off all of our ability to get these rare earths, the rare earth prices will skyrocket inside the United States, and that might actually result in us building some plants. So it's going to take years for that to happen. And once we get those plants built, then we'll have a new president. The new president will end the tariffs, and then China will cut the prices, and then those mines will just leak out of existence because they will owe so much money, and it'll be based upon a certain mineral price, and we won't have it. And they're going to fuck with us forever because we broke the rules, and now they're going to mess with us. Dead Bass. How is BBYQ going to run up in price if I can't sell beforehand and regret my decision after the price increase? I don't think you want to sell beforehand if it goes up. Here's the way I picture it. I kind of laid this out as a hypothetical, but GME/Teddy, whatever, does a reverse merger into BBYQ and takes their ticker. Right. That means everyone who has BBYQ shares now gets Teddy or GME shares, etc. It might be, you get a Teddy share and a warrant for a GME share. Maybe you get a Teddy share, a GME share, and a warrant for each. I don't know. But there's so many naked shorts on BBYQ. My estimate is around 5 billion naked shorts are what's out there. That if there's any cash that goes to shareholders, multiply that cash by 5 billion, and that's how much the short hedge funds and market makers are going to owe in remuneration to those shareholders immediately. Like, you don't provide that PIL, you're getting liquidated. And it's not a T plus 90 on that fucker. That's cash. Like, you have to provide that cash now, right? On top of that, if they offer, if it comes out that, you know, we get a GME share and GME's trading at $27 right now, then for billions of those shorts were made when the stock price was below 25 cents. They went from down to 25 cents down to 4 cents they were shorting. And if all of a sudden you owe, you know, 100 to 700x on that for 5 billion shares, you're fudged. Right? And if there's warrants on top of that, you know, they go out to everybody and, you know, they send them to me, and I have my 15,000 shares. So for $150, I can buy 15,000 warrants at a penny each to get GameStop shares at $20, right? I forgot I have my phone sound on. I never have my phone sound on because I wait for the electrician to call me back. So like immediately those warrants are worth $7 right off the bat, right? But if all of a sudden there's a squeeze because a bunch of stock has to get purchased to get delivered to people, those warrants start to climb. And if they don't provide the warrants to shareholders, they're going to get margin called again and liquidated. So they'll go on the market to buy the warrants. The warrant price is going to shoot through the roof, which is going to cause the price of the stocks to shoot through the roof anymore. And it's just going to keep feeding on each other and going up. So then it comes down to the question of how much is enough for you? Are you going to hold forever and be like, infinity squeeze? Or are you going to sell a little here and then hold the rest and see what happens? I will probably start the ladder selling method, you know, until it gets to the point where the volume is so high and the price is so high that I just go, fuck it, I'm out. Because really, I'm out. I'll be done. I will probably do my best to never think about the stock market ever again. I want out. I want to be done. I want to just be done. Be done with it. Enjoy my life. Be able to pay for my hobbies. Travel. Give Monkey Butt and the kitty cat a good life. And do that. And do that until I get bored of it. And then I'll figure out. But I want to at least get to the point where I'm bored of it. I was just reading about some guy who sold his company for like $900 million. And how he doesn't know how to live. He's like, I don't know how to relax. I don't know how to be retired. I'm like, buddy, give the money to me. I'll let you grind all over again. You can grind set all day, and I will enjoy your $900 million. I will figure it. I will tough it out and figure out how to enjoy it. I don't understand the mental illness of that. Like, you're provided for. Get a hobby, dude. Like, collect, I don't know, baseball cards or garden or build birdhouses in your garage. Like, do something. If you need to do something, go do something. You know, volunteer, do charity work, help people. Like, it's not that hard to figure out stuff to do. You just sit around going, oh, I'm so bored. Then you're not using your $900 million correctly. People are weird. They're very weird. Oh crap, there's a reset of the chat. Where'd you go? Wee Wild says, I'm tired, boss. Dog tired. Gonna buy a couple way out of the money Tesla puts ahead of the earnings. Hope the lottery will hit. Yeah, what are those doing right now? Let's look at that. GSLA options chain. Okay, so it'd be for way out of the money. Look for next week probably. We're trading at 252. I think we had 260 at one point today. So way out of the money. Well, these prices are getting cheap right here. Those are calls. Put wise, yeah, they're getting cheap. So you can get something down this range. You know, hitting 220, dropping $30, that's very possible. Even then, you can probably buy stuff that's around 200. It's about 34 cents right now. And I bet the price on this sucker can go up 5x, maybe more. If the earnings are really bad, it could hit 200. Remember, JP Morgan and others are calling for 150 or lower. So, yeah, that is not too shabby. Not too shabby. Gives me something to think about, right? Gives something to think about. Wish I had more, I could diversify better into these plays. Sometimes sommelier. Will our GME salvation take the form of a slow grind to hundreds of dollars per share, or a quick and violent rip to thousands per share and a sudden fall back to earth where it hovers the 65 zone? I'm hoping for the latter. I want a quick rip to thousands, make my money, buy a bunch of puts, let it drop, make even more money, and see you later. I don't want the slow grind. I've been here long enough, man. I don't want the slow grind. I want the quick, dirty, get it over with. I'm impatient. I want it done. I don't give a shit what kind of company GameStop becomes in the future. I want mine now. Pay me. Let's get this over with. If you just gotten it over with sooner, you paid me, I probably would take all my money, reinvested back in when it dropped, and then just happily sat on that from that point forward. But now I just want out. I want to be done. I'm tired. Mark Sloan. Hello, Houston. Are we getting anything can't read. Hello, Houston. Are we getting anything soon from GME or BBYQ? I just had emergency surgery to repair a distal tear in my bicep. Off work for the next 6 months. At least I don't have to pay for the surgery. Oof. My dad tore his bicep off his arm. That's shitty surgery. And yeah, can't really use that arm for a long time. I hope so. I really do. I think Ryan needs to let this thing rip before it's too late, because if all of a sudden GME sales start plummeting because people are losing work, prices of games are too high, etc., I don't know what that's going to do to the stock value. And, the fact that Bitcoin is following the SPY is showing you that it's not a hedge against the markets, because these hedge funds, they control so much of the wallets for cryptocurrencies that when they're in trouble, they dump. And that's when they do also major selling on their blue chips. So it just follows each other. They just do the same pattern all day, every day. Adam Dave, you only have $100 and wanted to hit it big. What options would you play? You're talking lotto tickets. I would actually shoot for GameStop lotto tickets. I would go for puts. Wait, this is this week. Which week is this? April 17th. I don't want the April 17th. I would go April 25th. I would look at this stuff that's way out of the money here and ride that wave. Because you got $100, you can get what? 7 or 8 of those. And if we get a rip like we did some other time, well, then you're looking at probably a couple $1,000s for each one of those. That might do it. If anything turns out like May. If not, look at something a little further out, like the May 23rds, which I think only go up to 40. And those are almost $1 each. So you only get like one of those right now. The 17th, 16th, do those go higher? Those go 55. So maybe these guys, you can get a couple of those. But yeah, got $100, you're gambling. You're just going, baby needs a pair of shoes. When you go, something like that. If not, you play close to the price, and it dipped up to 27 today. You get your modest gain, and then collect your money and do it again. And MD, also GMGF was doing great for a while, and then the stock just started dropping. Any idea why? I didn't see any negative news. No news that I know of. I know that they signed a big deal with a battery research facility in Indiana to figure out how to scale their batteries for like cars and other things. They seem to be doing things the right way. We'll see where it goes. I don't know. I'm just holding it and hoping someday it gets better. And then if I have more money, I may, and pick up some more shares of it. Rock Bejanoth. I got smoked on SQQQ the day Trump paused tariffs. Do I hold or sell? How are they shares or you're doing calls on that one? Because we are going to have another big drop at some point. The guy's bipolar, and on a whim he can make the market lose $4 trillion in capitalization. So if they're just shares, hold. If they're options, look at the date that you may be stuck with them. Chris Taylor, hi. Just loaded some 425 post-earnings Tesla puts this AM. I think it will be a bad quarter. What do you think? I think it'll be a very bad quarter. Yes. Peter Brand is here. Hi. Chris Taylor, happy Monday. Alexander K, happy birthday, Houston. Andrew Stewart, Houston. So it sounds like they want to send U.S. citizens that hate America to El Salvador. Fucking awesome. Yay. Hooray. Woohoo. Yeah. Jack Burton, thanks for keeping up the stream, Houston. My pleasure. Ernie Elizondo, happy birthday. Chris Taylor, we made the bed, gotta lay in that pile of shit now. Fred Jones, Trump said, screw you, America, I'm dictator now. Exactly. Dennis Sullivan, what the fuck? You can't even give back the guy I sent by accident. Yep. Citizen 4, thank you, short hedge funds, for pushing the price down only to end up green. Options ran cheap today. Good for anyone buying the dip. Aaron Salton, Houston. I bought the stock ticker DMN around 13,000 shares for $30, around 0.0033 cents. Then I sold each individual share for a penny. Robinhood let me. Lol. Took me 3 days to do a $33,500 transaction. Really? That is awesome. DMN. So now it's at 0.43. So you individually sold them. You put them up as like for like 1 penny each for all 13,000 shares. That is awesome. I don't see it spiking around there, but people bought individual shares for a penny each on that sucker. Interesting. Damon Incorporated. Let's see what Yahoo shows. We do, I want to do the last 5 days. Okay. So it was much higher. You bought the dip. So it must have been somewhere around here. You bought the dip. And then it was spiking to a penny along this thing. And you were selling one at a time. That's pretty awesome. That's, to be 3 days to do 3,500 transactions. Okay. So you're doing 4 shares in a block for a penny each. Huh. 3,500 transactions a day. Okay. So you're interesting. Well, you made a good chunk of change on that, right? So 3,500. That's $35. I guess it's only like $100. That's a lot of work. Never mind. Big return, but a lot of work to get that return. So that's the graph here. So, yeah, that's a lot of work to get that up there. Basically, you got a 3x return, essentially, because you're selling for a penny, and it's at a third of a penny. If you can do that on a large scale, like with a trading computer, then you're fine. The trading computer just do all the work for you. But if you have to like individually do each one of those for a penny, that's a lot of work. That seems like it'd be cheaper to not do that. Yeah. Frozen Productions, looks like my Twins Mariners battle for the American League pennant is washed. I haven't seen what the Twins are doing here. The Mariners are back to 500. They were like 3-7. Now they're 8-8. American League standings. So Seymour, yes. So the Twins are 5-11. Oof. Mariners are 8-8. They're 1.5 games out of first in the American League West. They're on I think they're on like a 6-game winning streak right now. So that's not too shabby. Yeah. The American League does not really seem to have super strong teams at the moment. The Tigers are doing all right. And the Angels are doing all right. Which is weird. But everyone else, they're kind of pushing pretty close to 500 there. National League, on the other hand, they've got some real monsters going on. The Padres are just whooping ass. So, good for the Padres. Make the West interesting. Okay. Aaron Team know how to squeeze a stock. Oh wait, I missed the first part of that. Have you seen Webull stock IPO'd through a merger and it squeezed from $10 to $65? Webull's holding the shares, so there are no shares for shorts to find at Chinese companies. Know how to squeeze a stock always. Yep. They do these IPOs. They never actually send the shares to their underwriters, and then all of a sudden, the underwriters have sold too many shares that actually exist, and the Chinese go, let this squeeze to thousands, and then it does. So yeah. Brendan Wells, do you think BBY holders who didn't DRS will get paid? Yes, they will. Dean Sullivan, first they came for socialists and I didn't speak out. Exactly. First they came for documented immigrants and I didn't speak out. Then they came for citizens and I still didn't speak out. And then they came for me and there's no one left to speak out for me. Yeah, that's basically where we are. Chris Taylor, 3-mile walk here in the mid-Atlantic. Beautiful day here. Chris Taylor RC is kind of a douche these days. A little bit. Says 54 Houston at 69 days after 420. Duh. What's that going to be? That's going to be July sometime. B-Ball 3710. How much CO2 did Blue Origin's women's retreat throw out? Not quite sure. We can look it up. None. Oh, wait. They use liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen as fuel, does not produce carbon emissions during flight. Blue Origin claims the only byproduct of the engine is water vapor. However, experts point out that water vapor is not carbon. It still contributes to greenhouse gas effect, which can impact the ozone layer. So, technically no carbon. It's just water vapor. Water vapor is a greenhouse gas, but it can just, it is not quite the greenhouse gas the same level as carbon is, or methane or anything like that. So, basically none. It's hydrogen. Long-haul flights, rocket launches produce significantly more carbon emissions per passenger, with estimates ranging from 200 to 300 tons of carbon dioxide. So Falcon 9 rockets going to space produce way more carbon dioxide than the hydrogen rockets of New Shepard. So none. No CO2, no carbon footprint. Just bodies? Why is there lore about RC's marriage? Laugh my ass off. Because apparently there's filing documents in Florida where his wife is like, So, yeah. Colin, cheers. RC tweet and 420 coming up. Maybe some volatility coming in soon. I think we're having volatility. I think that's coming. We're about to get the T35 soon for the earnings report. That should be not next week, but the week after. And remember, there's 100 million shares that traded as a result of those days. Actually, I think 100 million shares on just one of those days alone traded. That's a lot of naked shorts. That's a lot of liability. They have to go back in and get it all at some point, right? Hey, monkey, what are you doing? You licking your stub? Are you stub licker right now? Don't lick your stub. It's not ladylike. Silver's Box. RC has been duped by the Floridian high circles. Definitely been honeypotted by Pulte and others. I do have a feeling that he has been influenced heavily by the Billionaire Row folks. Um, that I think he's fundamentally a different dude than he was even just a couple of years ago when he was still an outsider to those groups. And now that he's an insider, they've sort of got their little hooks in them, and that's where we are. I certainly would like to make some money off him though at this point. Citizen 54, by the way, 69 days after 420 is 6/8/25, a Saturday. 69 work days after 420 is Tuesday, July 29th. Fun to think about, but just conspiracy. Yeah. Rock Bajanoth. Got smoked. Let's go. You did that one. Jimmy D. EU peacekeepers or another NATO country should invade El Salvador for human rights investigation. Yeah. Basically, yeah. I mean, they should invade us for human rights investigation at this point. B-Ball 3710, if China doesn't play by the rules that you just talked about, then F them even more. Why do business with them? Because you don't have options. Like, you just don't. There's so many products that can only be made in China because they're the only ones with the tooling for it and the supply chain for it in the entire world. It's going to take years to spool that up for many, many products. You might be able to get like couture or bespoke things made, but outside of that, if you want mass produce and don't want to spend thousands of dollars for a single item, you're going to require Chinese factories at this point. The only way China will ruin, I think, their ability for those factories to keep churning stuff out and having buyers is if they invade Taiwan. If they invade Taiwan, then they're going to be a pariah state just like Russia, and the rest of the world will go, we'll figure it out without you, China. And then China will have some serious problems with that. Yeah. Chris Taylor, do you think Harvard will stand their ground or cave? I hope they continue to show some backbone and continue to give middle fingers to Trump. I think they'll stand their ground. They've got a gigantic endowment. They've got the top lawyers on planet Earth come from their law school. I think they stand their ground. Oregon already told the federal government to go fuck themselves and will continue their diversity programs in their public schools. But Oregon's like Washington, where maybe only 10% of our funding for public schools come from the federal government. So we can afford to be like, fuck you. And the federal government go, we're not going to fund you anymore. And we'd be okay with that. We can figure out how to take what of our surplus and send it to our schools and not lose any funding for our schools in that case. Other states do not have that ability. You go down south, you go to Alabama, Mississippi, Kentucky, Tennessee. 40 to 50% of their school budgets come from the federal government in those states. So if they were to somehow lose out on that federal dollars, they can't pay for schools. They're not going to be able to scrape it together to pay for those schools any way, shape, or form. So they're screwed. But private colleges with huge endowments, states that don't take that much federal funding, they're fine. They'll be fine. So yeah. Kelly Bowl says Spain. Word. Treetop. Just let MAGA narcissists have power for too long enough and it will all inevitably implode. That's what happens 99% of the time when you allow too many malignant narcissists like Donald Trump make decisions. Malignant narcissists are missing approximately 50% of the gray matter in the outer layer of the cerebral cortex. That's why Donald Trump acts like a child in an adult body. Cognitive dysfunction mixed with childlike conclusions to adult-like problems that never works. Oh yeah. I mean, that's he is going to implode the economy. He is actively doing it right now. He's going to destroy our ability to negotiate or have friends anywhere in the world. And the problem is that if he manages to consolidate power enough to the point where they're offing the opposition and they're just being disappeared forever, they can keep that childlike ineptitude going for quite a long time. It is going to come down to the federal court system utilizing their constitutional powers to remove these folks from office and put them in a basement somewhere under contempt charges. That's what that's going to have to come down to. There's going to be no other option other than someone from the military forming a junta and taking over. I mean, as it stands right now, the Democrats will absolutely whoop ass in the midterms if we have elections. Which, if Trump starts putting in these like martial law, war powers things, we might not have elections. So, remember, Stephen Miller is an absolute diabolical little evil man. And he has no conscience. He's got no empathy. He's got no understanding of right and wrong. He only understands what he wants, and then he's going to get what he wants, and he will war game it so that everyone else will get punished so long as he gets what he wants along the way. So if he says, "Hey, we're going to stop elections in 2026," then there are going to be no elections in 2026. That's where we are. Oh shoot. There's a. Ooh. Oh, so it's time for me to go. All right. I'll have to get to other things later. And yeah, I'll get you guys tomorrow. We'll do a show tomorrow. I'll see you about the same time tomorrow. Wednesday, my mother has an appointment in the city at a hospital, and she needs me to give her a ride. So I don't know if I'll get to a show Wednesday. If I do, it'll be an after dark show. So keep that in mind. But I'm gonna do a show tomorrow about this time, and I'll see you guys then. And I'm sure there'll be more wild shit to talk about tomorrow because nothing can remain calm and collected this time of year or in this century or ever. It's just a constant cataclysm of shit that just happens. Anyway, you all have a great day. I'll catch you tomorrow, and peace out, Girl Scout.